If you're serious about lowering your scoring, you need to train with purpose, not just warm up. This practice routine is the quickest and most effective way of lowering your scoring. Most people will tell me that they practice their putting, and yet all they're really doing is just whacking the ball around the green for 10 minutes before they play, so that does not count. Let me show you what a perfect practice routine is so you can shoot better this weekend. So to kick off our perfect putting practice session, what we're going to do is just a really simple warm-up drill. You'll have seen this before, Tiger's made it famous, and that's just putting through a tee gate. So put your putter down on the floor and put 2 tees either side of the putter head, just so that we can work on strike. So strike is one of these things that people don't often practice, and it is one of the biggest determining factors when it comes to distance control, which is the most important skill. If you can train a stroke where you strike the ball out the middle of the face every time, you've got a much better chance of hitting the ball the right distance, which obviously means you're going to hold more putts. Now, I actually think that the right way to do this is by putting to nowhere. So a drill that I saw Aberg do at the Ryder Cup was actually just by putting his head cover down 2 or 3 feet in front of where the ball is going to go, and then what happens is the ball hits the head cover and you're not really focused on the outcome. You know, I'm not trying to hold this putt, I'm just working on my stroke, trying to not hit the tees, and it doesn't matter where the ball goes. I quite like this as an idea because it just gets me out my head of trying to hold putts and just keeps me focused on trying to make decent strokes and obviously not hit the tees. Now, if you're an expert at this, what you might go on to do is do some of this right hand only or left hand only, a bit like you see Tiger do when he's warming up. So yeah, doing this one-handed is really hard, definitely hard with my left hand. But once you can do that on repeat, you know your strike's good and we can move on to the next challenge. So once we've got our strike dialed in, what we're going to do is work on our putting basically from the hole backwards. So the first thing I like to do when I'm working on my putting is just practicing holding these awkward length putts. So I like to work on knocking in 3 to 4 footers. So 3 feet is basically a putter length plus a couple of inches. And that's just about the length where you get on the course, where you're walking up to it slowly, hoping your playing partner's going to give it to you, but they never do, so you've got to knock these in. And these are the ones that in a medal, if you miss one, it's basically, game over for your confidence. So what I like to do is pick a hole on the putting green with a bit of a slope, because it's quite nice to stand there at 3 feet holding straight uphill putts, and because that gets your confidence up. But in reality, I never get a straight uphill putt on the golf course. I always seem to have downhill, side hill putts with a bit of break. So it's important to practice knocking the putts in on a slope. So I'll just spend 5 or 10 minutes putting 3 or 4 balls around the hole on all different angles around the green, just working on knocking these in, making sure that my pace and my lines are right. If you line your ball up when you're out playing, you want to practice this at this point. I don't do that, so I won't. This is a great way to get a sense for, can I control my club face? Can I have the ball hit the hole at the right speed, which are obviously really important for this length putt. You can also, on these ones, get a bit of a sense for, do I prefer uphill, do I prefer downhill, do I prefer left to right, do I prefer right to left, which will generally give you a bit of an insight into, do you have any faults in your stroke? Some people really like right to left putts because they can push it up the hill and it'll fall in. If you have a tendency to push your putts, you really won't like the left to right putts because the ball's basically forever moving away from the hole. So just by spending a little bit of time working on holing out on these short ones, you're going to get a really good sort of just insight into your own stroke, and it's a great way to boost your confidence before you go and play. So the next step of my perfect putting practice routine is I'm going to practice my green reading a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a hole that's on a slope again, and we're going to go about 15 to 20 feet away. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a tee in the ground at roughly where I think the high point of that putt is. So you're basically going to read your putt like you would normally do on the green. So walk back, take a look, you might walk to the middle, stand on the slope to get a bit of a sense for it. And then you want to walk out about halfway and put a tee in the ground from where we're going to try and bend the ball around the hole for it to go in. Now, once you put the tee in the ground, you want to come back and have another look to see if you think that's still the right place. I'm now not, I think that's probably a bit high now that I've looked at it, so I'm just going to move it in slightly. And then once you're happy with the tee location, then you can hit a putt and see if you can get the ball to go in. So it's got to go around that tee. Oh, that was good. So I'm pretty happy that's in the right place. And what I would do if I had loads of time is I would, once I've hit a couple of these putts and I'm happy that that's roughly a good read, what I would do is pick that tee up and go find a hole on the opposite slope. So that's right to left. I'd go find a left to right putt and do the same, just so that I can be comfortable and happy that when I go on the golf course, I am good at reading the greens on both sorts of slopes. Green reading is all about experience, so you have to hit lots of putts on lots of different slopes to gather that experience. But I don't know anyone who actually goes out to practice green reading, so this is an excellent drill for learning where the high points are, seeing the slopes, feeling the slopes. And once you get good at this on the putting green, when you're out playing, you'll notice that your green readings are much better and you're going to hit your putts much closer. So we've warmed up our strike, we've then knocked in some awkward 3-footers, we've worked on our green reading, so the last thing we have to do in a good practice session is work on our pace putting. Now, how I like to do this is actually not putting to a hole, because I think a hole is almost like too much of a definitive target when you're just worried about pace. And I like to put to the fringe. So at most golf clubs and here at Sandmore, what you end up with is like around the putting green, you generally have a yard or so, or a metre of fringe around the green, which is pretty much a perfect sort of distance to put to, a perfect target. Because if the hole was in the middle here and I left it 2 feet short, it'd be on the fringe, and if I hit it 2 feet past, I'd still be on the fringe. So what I will do now is just spend some time hitting some 30, 35, 40, 50 foot putts, trying to get the ball to stop on this fringe. So I know 30 feet is about 12 paces away for me. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. So that's 30 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 40 feet. 1, 2, 4. It's 50 feet. So all I'll do is spend some time hitting some 30, 40, 50 foot putts, just to the fringe. See if I can get the ball to stop on the fringe. Bit fast. So it's on the fringe, so that's okay. And in doing this, I'm not target related. I'm not worrying about my stroke. I'm not worried about my direction. It's just, can I get this ball to stop in the fringe? And if I can do that, I know when I get out on the golf course, as long as I know how far my putts are, I've got a pretty good idea of how hard to hit it. That needs to go. Not bad, bit short, but not bad. So if you spend time hitting these long putts just to an area, when you get out on the golf course and when all we're trying to do on those long putts is just get the ball to stop near the hole, you're never trying to hole it. It'd be nice if you did, but you never do. So if we can just put to an area which gets us close enough to tap it in, we're going to 3 putt less. And if we can eliminate the 3 putts, maybe knock a few of those mid-range ones in because we're reading the greens well, striking the putts out the middle of the face, then you're going to putt better, you're going to score lower. As a golfer, we generally, in my estimation, we should be aiming for 32 putts or less in a round of golf. The fewer greens you hit, the fewer putts you should have, because you're going to have more wedges into greens, which means you're going to hit it closer. But I always would guess or estimate that when people have less than 32 putts around, they've putted well and they're going to score well. So if you go out and you do this practice routine, you know, once a week, it'll take about half an hour, then I've no doubt that after a few weeks doing that, your putting will vastly improve and you'll start shooting lower scores. Putting well doesn't help you stop slicing it into the trees and doesn't help you stop shanking your irons, but it means you're not wasting shots on what should be the simplest task in golf, just rolling the ball on the green to the hole. So get out, give it a try, let me know how you get on. If you have enjoyed that or you're interested in some more instruction stuff, leave a comment, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.